join us. We're gonna have a good time. Listen up, check us out. Use the hotline number to chime. Come on and join us. There's lots of surprise for you. Fun and family, big great fellowship too.
Crystal and Shawn have exciting words. I'm sure there's something that you've never heard. Sunday at 6, it's an excellent mix. We got spiritual flair, special guests will be there.
Come on and join us. We're here and waiting for you. Connect with us at 6 o'clock. We wanna share in all you do. Come on and join us. Come right here and find. Connect with us and share your thoughts. We wanna explore your mind. Chattitudes, Chattitudes.
What's your attitude?
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 Come on and join us. We're gonna have a good time. Listen up, check us out. Use the hotline number to chime. Come on and join us. There's lots of surprise for you. Fun and family, big great fellowship too.
Crystal and Shawn have exciting words. I'm sure there's something that you've never heard. Sunday at 6, it's an excellent mix. We got spiritual flair, special guests will be there.
Come on and join us. We're here and waiting for you. Connect with us at 6 o'clock. We wanna share in all you do. Come on and join us. Come right here and find. Connect with us and share your thoughts. We wanna explore your mind. Chattitudes, Chattitudes.
What's your attitude?
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 All right, Chattitudes. What's your attitude? We are here.
Yes.
Good evening. Hello. Welcome.
Yes, this is our second show of Chattitudes, and we are excited still. And we just thank you again for your love and support. Today's show is on teen dating violence awareness. But before we get started, I just wanted to give acknowledgement to our sponsor today. It's Fonville and Associates Financial Services. They offer different life insurance policies and retirement and annuity plans. The contact person is Shelby Fonville. You can reach her on Facebook at Fonville and Associates. And also, you can reach her at 240-346-7430. Thank you so much. Before we get started, I just wanted to go ahead and encourage everyone to go ahead and share the link on Facebook. But we are on YouTube, on VoxWave. So go ahead to YouTube and subscribe to VoxWave. And go ahead and take note of our hotline number. It's 240, and it's right here on the desk as well. It's 240-719-2560. And you can also follow Chattitudes on Facebook, on Chattitudes. And also, you can follow us on Instagram at Chattitudes 2020. So we're going to go ahead and get started with Crystal with the word of the day or the word of the week.
Hey, I told you all, every single week we're going to have a word of the week. Last week, you remember what it was. I'm not going to tell you again. This week, we have an entirely new word. I told you that I wasn't going to the Webster's Dictionary for the word of the week. I told you every week I'm going to the Urban Dictionary. For now, I don't know, maybe change course over time. But right now, through the Urban Dictionary, our word of the week. Are you ready? The word of the week today is hater.
Ooh.
Now I know this is a common word. People use it all the time. But I'm not for sure that people actually understand what this word actually means. So I'm going to tell you what the word hater actually means. It's a person that simply cannot be happy for another person's success.
Wow.
So rather than be happy with the person's success, they begin to point out all of the flaws about this particular person. That's a hater. Hating is the result of being a hater. It's not actually, a lot of people confuse it with jealousy a lot of times, but it's not actually jealousy. It means that this person don't want the person he or she hates Rather, that person just wants to knock you down a notch.
Wow.
They just want to bring you down a notch. And it was very interesting. I found this acronym for hater. It says, having anger towards everyone reaching success.
Wow.
Haters.
Awesome.
That's awesome,
Yeah.
right? And some people hate you because of how other people love on you.
Wow.
And that's powerful in a way. And I'm just going to tell you the God's honest truth. Haters are my motivators.
Well,
Haters are my elevators.
Hey.
The more you hate me, the more it thrusts me to do well. The more
Yes.
it thrusts me to pray more, to study more, to go harder and harder. So every time people hating on me, it just elevates me in such a way. And I got to tell you something, Shawn. I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
My mother said years and years ago, don't worry about when people talk about you. Worry about when they stop talking
That's
about
true.
you. Because that means that you're not even in their foresight anymore. So as long as people are talking about you, it's almost a good thing. So haters are my elevators, are my motivators. And I don't really have time to hate because nowadays I really, really concentrate on how I spend my energy,
Amen.
what I spend my energy on, who I spend my energy on. So I don't have time to hate. You won't get no hating. In fact, when people hate me, I forget that they hate me. I'm gonna tell you a just a short story. Honestly, I'm gonna tell you so at work, not this job, but a couple of jobs ago, a person just didn't like me for whatever reason. And I'm telling you, and then I said, well, I'm just going to stop speaking to her too. Not a godly thing to do, but that's what I did. I just said, I'm not going to speak to her either. But one day we were walking down the hall, and I'm going to tell you, I just said, hey, how you doing? And she didn't speak back. Well, I honestly forgot that we were hating on each other. So that's how much hating is just not in me.
Right.
I forgot that I'm hating on the person. So I'm here to tell you, stop being a hater.
Amen.
Stop being a hater. Stop competing with one another. What God has for me is for me.
Amen.
What God has for you is for you.
Amen.
And I'm uplifting everyone. So anytime anyone is showing any signs of success, I'm applauding you.
Amen.
I'm applauding you.
Amen.
But I'm going to tell you
Amen.
how many people just been hating just because me and Shawn have a show right now. There's some haters out there.
Uh-oh.
But we
We
love
not
you.
worried about- we love you, but we're not worried about
But we're
it.
not worried about
Yeah,
that.
I
We
think-
love you. And we actually invite you. We invite you to watch. And in fact, we continue to pray for you as a hater. And all of us got some hating abilities in us. So don't think that you too good to be hating, because every now and then you got to check yourself.
Amen.
Every now and then if I start gossiping about somebody, I'm like, hold up. Let me check my hating skills.
Amen.
You know what I mean? So don't think that you are above the haterade, because you're not above it. You can be a hater too. So sometimes we all got to check ourselves.
Amen. Amen.
Some people just hate in the worst ways. I know some haters. Ooh, I know some haters. But I'm not going to talk about them today. I love you, haters. Come on and keep on elevating me. Come on, haters. Haters gonna hate. All right, that's all I got to say about the word of the week, because we got a serious subject today.
We do.
But I just wanted to lighten it up for a moment before
Right.
we get into our serious subject. It's a serious subject, but I'm here to tell you it's inspirational, because we got a powerful person here today who has gone through some things, who has a journey, who has a story. And so we're not going to be sad about it, because so many times we're victims. But I'm talking to survivors today. We got a survivor sitting here. We got a survivor in our studio audience today, and we are excited about life.
Yes, we are.
That's all I got to say, haters.
Thanks.
Come on, hate.
Yes, we have survivors, and we also are thriving. But before we go into the topic today, I just want to encourage the parents. I know this is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, but I also want you to go ahead, get your teen, get them in front of YouTube, get them in front of the iPad, the TV, or their cell phones, and go ahead and let them know. Text your friends, text the grandparents, the parents, text the kids, aunts, text, and your nieces and nephews. We just want to get everybody tuned in, because it's not just about the teens. This affects everyone. And it's also not just the girls or the women, it's the boys and the men as well, which we'll get into later. So again, as Crystal said, I am a survivor myself. And my experience begins when I was a teen. So I was 14 years old, and again, I was raised in D.C. I was going to D.C. public schools, where I met my abuser at the time. He was my boyfriend, and what attracted me to him was that he was quiet. He had a quiet demeanor. He seemed really shy and sweet, and we began to like each other. We began to date, and he was nice. He was my first love. So we just began to talk every day. He walked me home from school. He came to visit me, and we just talked so much. And he was all the time that I had for him. I mean, I used to cheer when I was in school. I was running track, and all that just came to a halt because I gave so much of my time and energy to him. But again, he was sweet, and my grandmother at the time, she was raising me. I was living with my grandmother, and she loved him. She loved his family, and they just seemed like, okay, such nice people, which they were. However, again, like I said, he was quiet. So as time went on, we began to date more. He began to show other signs, and so he just became a little bit possessive. He wanted all of my time. He didn't want me to spend any time with my friends or my cousins. So he just became so obsessed with me that he began to threaten me. So if it looks like I'm doing something he didn't like or that he wasn't getting the attention that he wanted, he began to threaten me. Like threaten me in terms of he would cause harm towards my family. And so he knew I had this fear of him. He knew that I had this fear. So he used that to manipulate me. He used that to control me. And so the story I'm telling you now, and I'm not only telling you, and I've told you, I actually told the story several times. Some people, it's their first time hearing. Some people have already heard it before. But the stories you're going to hear today is not just so we can just hear ourselves talk. It's to encourage other people to listen to these red flags and take heed, take warning. And so you may see these same things happening to your children, your grandchildren. And so we just want to encourage you today. And I can finish my story, but I just wanted to let you know again, have your grandkids, have your children come and tune in. And again, for the parents, so you can see what's going on with your kids. Now, this all happened over 20 years ago. And back then, we did not have cell phones. There was no internet. So I know the dating scene today is a little different for the teens and the young adults. But again, those signs are still the same. That whole being possessive and being obsessive over the person and being controlling, not wanting them to go out with their family and friends. Now, we were in junior high school. Now, at some point, again, it progressively got worse because we went on to high school. And to be honest, and I don't think I told this part of the story before, but after we graduated from junior high, which at that time we was in 9th grade, I was excited because I was thinking, oh, I get to go to high school. Now, our paperwork said we were going to 2 different high schools, and which excited me because I'm thinking, man, I get a breather. I can go and meet new people. I can have fun. I can just enjoy high school. And then me being naive, me being immature, I mentioned to him, I was like, listen, I said, so if you come up to my school, and you see me talking to some guys or anybody, I said, they're going to just be friends. Don't worry about it. I just set myself up. I basically told him that I was going to be talking to other guys. So I was just naive and just a little, just immature. So he began to put in the works for his mom to transfer him to my high school because he was slated to go to a different high school. And so by the time school started in 10th grade, he was at my school. And he made sure that everyone knew I was his girlfriend. He walked me to my locker. He walked me to every class. And before that bell rung, he was at my door waiting to walk me to my next class. So I had no opportunity to meet really any new friends besides who was in my classroom. And of course, I couldn't establish any new friends with any guys. But things began to progress worse. And I eventually went to a teacher because he was just becoming just too obsessed. And even to the point where back at home, I think he got upset if he thought that I was looking at somebody, if he thought that somebody else was in the picture. Like one time he came down to my house. We were living in an apartment building, and he actually came down there thinking I was talking to somebody and came down there with a gun. And so I'm just thinking back over the times he's done just some crazy things, how things could have actually gone left. But I'm just grateful to God that things didn't. As time went on, by the time we reached 12th grade, I actually had a half-a-day schedule. So he sort of began to loosen his reins a little bit because he began to meet new friends. And actually, I think, started being friends with some other girls. And so I had a job. So he stayed in school all day. So he was able to do his thing. But fast forward, we ended up having a baby, getting married, and things became worse when he began to drink more. So the alcohol was a factor, but at the end of the day, I don't want people to use alcohol as an excuse. Oh,
Right.
because he was drinking.
Right, exactly.
That's why he hit me, and that's why he pushed me, and that's why he did this or that. No, keep in mind, this abuse in my situation started in high school. He was not an alcoholic. It just progressed with the alcohol.
Right.
So again, if you're watching, please have your teens watch, have the parents watch, grandparents, aunts, uncles. Again, tune in again. Go to Foxwave YouTube and subscribe and listen. Because, again, we have a powerful testimony coming up with a survivor. She's awesome. And also, we're going to talk about what it looks like to be in a healthy relationship. We're going to talk about the red flags of a relationship. And we just got some awesome information for you coming up. So right now we're going to take a break and
talk about statistics too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're going to talk about statistics too. No, it's
Okay,
okay.
yeah.
It's fine. It's perfectly fine. And actually, we're watching the chat today.
Right.
So people are chatting on YouTube. So if you're on it, there's a chat going on as well. And someone actually said that the message and it's just not for young people. No. We know that it's not just for young people. Today, this month, actually, we're celebrating. It's awareness of teen dating
violence
awareness month. We do know that there's so all of these tips, all of these signs, they're for everyone.
Everybody.
And I just want to preference this as well to say this is not just for women. Right. This is also for males as well, because males are abused too. So just putting that out there for now. That did come up in our chat. We do love you, and thank you, Dolores, for actually bringing that up in the chat. Most definitely. I do want to just say, just before we go on break, that this is so serious right now that the Center for Disease Control, we got a lot of statistics from there, and the Department of Justice states that roughly about 1.5 million high school boys and girls in the U.S. admit to being intentionally physically harmed in the last year by someone that they're romantically involved in.
Wow.
1 in 3 young people will be in an abusive or unhealthy relationship. And interestingly enough, only 33% of adolescents actually even report this. So a lot of people, a lot of teens, sometimes they grow up and they think this is just kind of normal sometimes. So you have only 33% actually reporting this violence. Another thing that really struck me as odd, and I really didn't know this, but females between the ages of 16 and 24 are roughly 3 times more likely than the rest of the population to be abused. And this just stunned me. Violent behavior often begins between 6th and 12th grade.
Wow.
So 13 and 14 years old. And so, again, we're talking about teen dating violence right now. And this is a serious thing. It's happening. It's actually a thing, and we're going to just discuss it. And like I said, on this platform, we're going to discuss just about every relevant topic that's actually happening in the U.S. today that particularly affect all of our communities. And so we are going to take a quick break, but we hope that you stay tuned in, because when we come back, we have an awesome, powerful woman, Miss Timira Love, who we love. I just love her, just hugging on her today. And I want you all to show her a lot of love that, when she comes up and I see the chats going, I want you all to show her a massive amount of love when she comes up, because this is a bravery thing. This is, everybody is not equipped just to come out to tell their story. And so to travel here, to tell her story, and she had a long commute to get here, but she has a powerful testimony, and God wants to use her for his glory. Amen. So although this thing happened to her, God is using it for his glory. Amen. And so, yes, I agree with that. And I see some comments, and I'll talk about those comments as soon as we get back. Erica, I see your comment about Embody. Embody is actually a male program that's run by Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and they're teaching their young men about abuse, and teaching them you're not a punk, to recognize it and just to speak up. Absolutely. Because our young men are actually being abused as well. All right, so we're going to take a short break. Shawn, you have anything else before you take a break? And then the next person you'll see sitting right beside us is Miss Timira Love.
Yes.
All right.
Just stay tuned in. Thank you.
Thank you. And you can call us when Timira comes up. The number is here.
Listen up, check us out. Use the hotline number to chime. Come on and join us. There's lots of surprise for you. Fun and family, with great fellowship too.
Crystal and Shawn have exciting words. I'm sure there's something that you've never heard. Sunday at 6, it's an excellent mix. We got spiritual flair, special guests will be there.
Come on and join us. We're here and waiting for you. Connect with us at 6 o'clock. We want to share in all you do. Come on and join us. Come right here and find. Connect with us and share your thoughts. We want to explore your mind.
Chattitudes, Chattitudes,
What's your attitude?
Chattitudes, Chattitudes,
What's your attitude?
Chattitudes, Chattitudes,
What's your attitude?
Chattitudes, Chattitudes.
What's your attitude?
Come on and join us. We're gonna have a good time. Listen up, check us out. Use the hotline number to chime. Come on and join us. There's lots of surprise for you. Fun and family, with great fellowship too.
Crystal and Shawn have exciting words. I'm sure there's something that you've never heard. Sunday at 6, it's an excellent mix. We got spiritual flair, special guests will be there.
Come on and join us. We're here and waiting for you. Connect with us at 6 o'clock. We want to share in all you do. Come on and join us. Come right here.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back.
Yes, we have
Tamira
Yeah.
Love in the studio with us.
We do.
So everybody, welcome Tamira Love. Yes.
So happy that you're here.
Yes.
We have a studio audience with us today. Thank you guys for clapping. All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
She is a brave woman. So I'll just read her short bio really quick so we can get started. March 22nd, 2015. Her life changed forever. All the hurt, pain, and disloyalty became her reality. Knowing that the love of her life wanted her dead was a hard pill to swallow. But when she looked in the mirror, she's reminded every day that her scars are her testimony. She fought to live, and now she's here to share her life beyond surviving story. Welcome.
We love you. Thank you.
Thank you for being so brave,
Yes.
for sharing your story. I know it's not easy,
No, it's not.
and I understand this is like your second or third time sharing your story
Yes.
with, publicly.
Right.
And I first met you at the mother and daughter
Yes.
brunch that they had during Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So, and when I first heard your story, I was in awe, and I was just so impressed with your bravery. So thank you
you.
again. I'm a survivor, so I understand how hard it is. So thank you so
Yes.
much.
Thank
And so
you.
just tell us how everything got started. Like, how old were you when everything began, and what was going on at the time of your life?
Yes, I was a teen when I met my abuser. I was 16, he was 20.
Wow.
I was still in high school, but I met him during the summertime. I can't remember the year I met him, but I was 16. So I think I was in the 11th grade going to the 12th grade. And it was cool, my first real boyfriend.
Yeah.
So the verbal abuse was early.
Wow.
Like with the disrespectful name calling and stuff like that. It was early. But I really didn't mind because, I was pressed. I was young. I was pressed to have my real boyfriend at this time. And I thought it was cute,
Wow.
I don't know. It's crazy. When you're young, you
Yeah.
think stuff like that is cute. But he ended up meeting my grandmother. And when she found out how old he was, she didn't like that. So I had to sneak around and see him.
Right.
So we was, talking for a while. Things started getting serious. And he started to be aggressive in the jump. He did not want me to be around my friends. He did not want me to be around my family. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't talk on the phone, text, be on social media. He was just very possessive. And when you say obsessed, my ex was obsessed with me. And I remember like 6 months, 7 months after we started getting serious, One day I was in my grandmother's house and I was cooking dinner for them, and I didn't make his plate. Now, mind you, he's not my husband.
Right.
I did not make his plate, and he punched me in my eye and gave me a black eye. So from then on, it was very physical. So it was physical abuse, it was mental abuse, verbal abuse. He did not abuse me financially, thank God, but all the other ones were just as bad, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, my grandmother ended up kicking me out the house a few years, like after I graduated high school, because abusers, if they can't get to you, they're going to hurt your loved ones. And when I was in the house one day, I wouldn't open up the door, so he broke down her door. So she was like, "That's it. I'm done. You have to leave." You know, so I moved in with him. He ended up pulling a gun out on me at his cousin's house, and I was working at Ashley's store at the time, so my coworker was like, I see that you're going through a lot, so come move with me. So when I moved with her, I ended up going to the courthouse to get a protection order for me and for my grandmother, because, he knocked down, he threatened me so much, I didn't know what to believe. So I felt like the court failed me because they put my coworker's address on the paperwork. So he ended up knowing where I was at, and he came banging on her door. So when that happened, I was like, let me just pack up myself and leave. And I went back to him, and we ended up getting our own place, and I couldn't do nothing. I didn't have a life, Every little thing was just ticking him off. And me realizing that now, he had a mental illness, and that's what people don't want to talk about. And I'm not taking up for him, but he had issues from his past growing up as a child, and he's seen so much that it carried on into his adult life. And because I was the closest thing to him, he took his frustration out on me. So, it was hell. My name was in the lease, of course. He was the breadwinner, so he was paying all the bills. So I was relying on that as well, just like a lot of victims do. Because, I wasn't making a lot of money to have my own. And he was helping me. But, I just felt a prisoner in my own household. And, my family did not like that. They don't want, my grandmother, my dad, don't want me to be getting beat on and, being mistreated. So I distanced myself from them because I didn't have a choice because I was in love with my ex. But, March the 22nd, March the 22nd, 2014, I will never forget. I was at my grandmother's house. I just got off work. And I went straight to her house because she's elderly. She needs some help. And I just wanted to get out the house. I was tired of sitting in the house all the time. Work, home, work, home. It was just annoying to me. So I went to her house, and he called my grandmother's phone. And he said, if you don't come home, I'm going to kill you. Now, I took it lightly. I did, because he threatened me so much that he never went through with it. So I just thought he was just having his episode. So I'm like, all right, Grandma, take me home. She was like, no, I really think he's going to try to kill you this time. I think he's serious this time. I guess God spoke to her. She just felt something in her body. But I'm like, just take me home, because I'd rather to go home than for him to come over here, because she's the closest thing to me. So I don't want nothing to happen to her. So she took me home, and she was like, if anything happens, just come back to the car. I was like, okay, cool. So I go to the house, open up the door. It's pitch black, dark. He comes around the corner with a butcher knife. And I'm like, I'm about to die. But I didn't run. I just went in the house. He pushed me up against the corner. And he was like, why you may come home? And he said a few words to me. I really can't remember. But I was like, the police outside. You know what I'm saying? I was just lying. Police outside. You don't want to do this. Let's just talk about this like we usually do. We're going to get through it. But he had it in his mind that he was going to kill me. So he dragged me in the room by my clothes, dragged me in the room, and he pushed me into the corner. Now, our room ain't but so big. And I seen the gun laying on the floor. And all I did was got on my knees, and I covered my face, because he would always tell me, if I can't have you, nobody else gonna have you. And if I try to kill you and you don't die, I'm gonna make sure don't nobody want you. Because I'm gonna destroy you, So I covered my face because I knew that was the target that he was aiming to. And I woke up, blood all over my face, my face hanging down, ear ringing, walk in the living room. He's laying there dead on the floor. So he shot himself in the head.
My God.
And I walked outside. Everybody was out there looking at me like I was crazy. And I couldn't talk because he shot me in my face. And yeah, he shot me in my face, he shot me in my chest, and he shot me in my back a couple of times.
Oh my God.
And I'm just signaling like, call the police, call the police. Jesus. And they came, and I wrote down on a piece of paper, do not let me die.
Oh my God.
And I woke up in the hospital, so they took me to PG, and they airlifted me to shock trauma, and I stayed there for a while, and then went to rehab.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Wow. That is horrific.
That's
and
a
I'm
lot.
just,
That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot.
Oh God.
Oh my goodness. And you're sitting here today.
Yes.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
nothing but the grace.
Nothing
of
but
God.
the grace. Nothing but the grace.
of God.
We know we have a lot of people are chiming. We have a lot of people watching via Facebook today because Timira's a Facebook person.
Yeah.
And we have people here on YouTube as well, and they're reaching out to you, just saying that they love you.
Hello.
That they're reaching out. They're saying grace, but God in Jesus' name. Somebody said it sounded like he had a major control issue. That's one of the
That
comments
is one
that
of the.
It's always control,
It's always-
manipulation, you know.
Those are one of the elements of an abuser.
right.
Is
And
the control. Yeah.
it's just been, so you always felt that way. Like he was always had some element of control.
Yeah,
like he
of
always
course.
wanted to control.
Yeah, he always wanted to control me, and I went along with it. He knew that he could control me,
Right.
so that's why he was doing what he was doing, because I was vulnerable. I was in love with him. And when you're in love with somebody, you do some crazy stuff, especially at a young age. That's why it's good to date in your age range, not try to date older men that's experienced. And he was more experienced than I was.
Right,
Like, he was my first. So
Right.
And it
Right.
sounded like he knew he had that advantage of you. And unfortunately, sometimes they prey on people.
Right.
You
They
know,
do.
somebody that
They do.
that's
Right,
immature and
exactly.
is weak and don't have that much experience.
Right.
So
Right.
that's who they prey over.
Exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
And that's
right.
unfortunate.
Now you mentioned mental illness, but did you know if he was abused growing up? One of the questions was he abused growing up? Did you know that at all? Or
Yes, he was abused.
he was abused.
And that's the thing. When kids are growing up, you don't know what they are experiencing
Right.
with their parents. Like, they could be witnessing their mother getting beat on or their father getting beat on. Even the kids get beat on, especially if it's in the household.
Right.
So they grow up thinking that it's normal, it's okay, or because I was hurt, let me hurt someone else. So that's why we have to be mindful of what our kids see and what they are around.
Absolutely.
Right.
Because even when I came home, I got into another abusive relationship with my son's father.
Wow.
And I ended up finding out that my son had autism. Once I found that out, I had to just let him go because my son was seeing that.
Absolutely.
Like, you can drop a pen and my son would jump because we yelled, screamed, cussed, and fussed around him so much that he was just so nervous. And I had to separate myself from that so my son won't grow up thinking that it's okay to hurt women.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, yeah, and that's what a lot of victims do. We don't heal. We jump into something right after, because my thing was I didn't want to be alone. I was with my abuser day in, day out. So when I
Right.
came home, I was lonely, and I wanted that companion, but that was just a bad decision.
So that leads me to one of my questions in terms of your healing process. Do you believe you've healed, or do you believe you need to go through some more healing?
No, I have not healed. I take therapy, counseling once a
good.
week.
Oh,
I am
awesome,
on 5 medications.
Wow.
I have bad depression. I deal with mood swings. My rotator cuff is torn, so that gives me a lot of pain. I'm paralyzed on the right side of my face, and I'm deaf in my ears, so I take medication for that as well. And just like my sleeping, I can't sleep at night. I get bad nightmares. It's just a lot of PTSD that you deal with because me seeing his body, and it just hit me different.
Most definitely. I mean, it's post-traumatic stress.
That is.
Yeah, and I would think that, honestly, even in that moment, did you still, even in the moment that you saw him laying there, did you still have some empathy and sympathy for him?
Yes.
Because you
That's
do
crazy.
love him. It's
Absolutely.
hard to sort of turn that switch off and on, even as a victim.
Right, I did, and I was sad because I couldn't save him. I was trying to save myself. He was already dead, and I knew that. I seen his face. Unfortunately, his face was facing me. He was dead. So I'm like, okay, let me get outside and let me get some help before I'm dead in here with him too. So just by the grace of God, he gave me the strength to just get up and walk out the house.
My God.
But I did feel some type of way because I wish he would have got the help that he needed. We could have broke up, you know. But I just wish that he would have got proper help. Because abusers need help too. They're dealing with personal issues as well. And that's the reason why they abuse. I mean, it's not making an excuse, but they have a reason to do it. You know? So we have to help the victims and we have to help the abusers as well.
That's true. That's true. They need
And
help too.
not downplay the abusers like, oh, we're not going to deal with you because you beat on women.
Right,
No, let's help them. Let's encourage them. Let's find them some classes to go to.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. That's so key. Oh my goodness. And I'm so happy to hear you actually say that, because a lot of times, you know, when they're abusers, any kind of abuse, you know, we just put them to the side. We throw them in jail, and they never ever get the help that they need, and they could get some healing. There is some medication. There is some mental things going on inside the brain.
Right.
And so that's just interesting to hear you say that after all you've gone through, to still say, and that's a forgiveness piece. That's God that allows you to be able to do that. That's God that allows you to be able to say, okay, even though I went through this, let's still get help for our abusers out here. And I think that's just so key, particularly coming from a survivor as yourself. That is key. We do have some questions from the people here. And Erica says, I wonder if she felt that she couldn't speak to the police or anyone to protect her. It just seemed like the system just doesn't work in so many ways. Do you think our system needs some type of reform?
Absolutely. But to answer that about family, I did have family.
You did.
But I went against my family. You know, my grandmother spoke to me about leaving my abuser. My dad did as well. But I didn't listen because my heart was with him. So, but with the criminal justice, yes. I mean, they feel a lot of cases out here. Like with me, they could have, I told them to leave my address where I was living anonymous. And they still had it on there. And that's how he popped up the next day saying, I know you in there. And I ain't have a choice but to leave out because I had to go to work. So that was a fight. He followed me to work. I had to call the security around the boulevard to come escort him out my job. So yeah, they definitely need some programs out here that deals with stuff like that. And it's real. I mean, it's people dying every day because they're getting killed by their abuser, women and men. You know?
And that just brings me to also the point, and I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, the system does fail because I went through the system. And part of my testimony is that when I finally decided to leave or put my abuser out, the guy I was dating in high school became my husband. And so I called the police on him. And the police came and they wouldn't take him. I thought surely they would take him out of the house. But they were like, well, this is your husband, this is his house too, so we can't take him.
The only way he would have took him out the house if you had physical wounds on your body.
But I did.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Oh, that's crazy.
And then I was scared because they left that man there in the house with me. And I ended up calling them again and they came back. Only to find him gone. But I went to the Prince George's County, the commission office or whatever, to get
to file the report.
To file the report and to get a protective order. And I was able to get one in court. I think like 2 days later they gave me a final order. But that paper means nothing. So that leads me to when you decide to leave, when you had enough. And it's so important to actually have a safety plan in place. Just like you went to your coworker, and he found you there. We have to get to a point, and this is why we have to educate anyone that's been abused. Come up with a safety plan. Begin to stash money. Find a place to stay, but have that in place. And and especially with someone you
Yes,
trust.
that you
And
trust.
definitely some place where you know your abuser does not know this particular address. So
Yes.
because unfortunately, and I see it and hear it too much in the news, where when there is a murder suicide or there is a woman or man being killed, someone is calling, I guess that one a hotline.
Yes. And I would,
What's that?
when we taking hotline calls, I would just encourage you to turn your radio down.
And off the
All right.
speakerphone too. So
Yes.
caller.
Yes.
Hi.
Welcome to Chattitudes.
Yes.
How are you? You're on with Crystal and Shawn on Chattitudes.
Well, praise the Lord. Yeah.
Praise.
How are you today? I want to start by saying, God bless you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who do we have on the phone with us today?
I have an echo, so let me move.
Right. If you're on YouTube, you can probably turn the computer down.
Oh, yeah, turn the volume down.
Or turn the volume all the way down. And I think I know the voice actually. It looks like sounds like the Reverend Charlene Jordan. That's what it sounds like.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Well, praise the Lord, ladies. You're doing a marvelous job. I want to reach out to Timira first of all to say I am just so proud of you for taking this step to stand up and speak on something that hurts you so bad to help the rest of us who may or may not be going through this and some of the keys that we can look for. I want to tell you I'm holding on to my tissue because I can feel your pain, but God knows He's keeping you.
Yes,
He's keeping you.
Yes.
So here's what I wanted to ask. In the beginning of your relationship, which is always a good thing because we're so excited about somebody caring, I wanted to know, did you love him even the more and feel special because he paid so much attention to you?
Yes, I did. He definitely was my best friend, so I confided in him. And yeah, I definitely was in love with him, so that's why it was very hard for me to leave him. But I did not fall in love with him right when I met him. It took, a few months.
Wow.
And I think in the beginning it was more of a lust thing, and then I started to actually catch feelings for him.
That's key.
Yeah.
That's key. Lusting. I mean, I think a lot of times, particularly, thank you, Reverend Jordan.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling. We appreciate you calling in. And anyone who wants to call just to ask a question or just to show love to Timira, feel free to do so. But I do think that that's key, the lusting. A lot of times when we're 16, 17, I mean, we've all sort of been there. Like, we've all been there.
Right.
So one of the questions that I would actually ask you is, what about those subtle things? Because what I see now, and I see trending, and I've read so many things now. So what I see now kind of is, I see where the young ladies and the young men, they're looking at each other's Facebook pages. They're going down their text messages. They're doing all of those things. And to me, that's really a form of control.
Right.
Because now I want to see who's liking your posts. Who's saying that you look good.
Right.
Who's doing all of these things. And so did you have some of that and then just going through, just looking back now, was there a lot of subtle things that were going on that maybe you missed then, but now looking back, you said, you know what, I shouldn't have given them control of my phone. I shouldn't have given them control of these things. So is it just those little subtle things sometimes that we just miss as young ladies and as young men? Because women, they going down their phone. Who are you talking to? What are you doing? I just don't feel like you should just have, that is a form of control to me.
Yeah.
It's abuse.
It's control, and it's a form of not having trust either. Because they're so insecure with themselves that they think that you're trying to talk to the whole world, and that's not even true. And just like, even with the phone, social media, like us telling all of our business, like my grandmother lives here, my auntie lives here. So like when you try to find a safe haven, it's very hard because they know all your business.
Right.
So when you get into relationships, stop telling all your business. Keep some stuff to yourself because you never know what the relationship can lead to down the line.
Exactly.
Y'all can be together for 5 years and then something happen and then, you have nowhere to run to or nobody to talk to because you done told all your business to your now abuser.
That's key. That's key.
So,
That's even
true.
in female relationships, your best friend becomes your worst enemy sometimes.
Yeah,
that's true.
So that because now they know all of your business.
Absolutely.
So now they know all your vulnerable spots. They know where
Yep.
you are at every time. They know your every single move. So I think that happens in all relationships sometimes.
Right.
Yeah. So
So in terms of trying to figure out or looking at some of the red flags, so I'm just going to go over a few signs to look for early on in a relationship. And so some of them is, of course, tends to push his or her interests, like pushing their interests onto you. Does not really listen to what you're saying. They're just waiting for you to finish talking so they can talk. And flexible on their opinion. Does not take no for an answer. Easily angered by minor things. Speaking very negatively about ex-girlfriends or boyfriends. And they often portray themselves as a victim in situations. And they tend to be, like we talked about, they tend to be possessive of you. And traditional ideas about men and women's roles. So they probably feel like, oh, you the man, you're supposed to do this. You the woman, you're supposed to do that. And some of the signs to look for further into the relationship is when things become physical, psychological, or sexually abused. And some of the things, like you said, he had some issues from the past. Right. And some of the things that are listed here is that person was abused as a child. They grew up in a home where there was domestic violence. They saw things. And they have a history of unstable relationships. Or there's some alcohol or drugs involved. And that was one of the questions I was going to ask you, too, because that was part of my story with my ex, with the alcohol escalating the situation. Was he ever on drugs or alcohol? Okay. So it was strictly mental.
Yeah. And a lot of anger. Yeah.
From the past.
Right.
Yeah.
there's a lot of built up.
Right.
Built up frustration.
Right. And so we see the red flags. So I also wanted to give a contrast in terms of the elements of a healthy relationship. So we know what to look for in a healthy relationship. So I'm going to go through the list. Respect, honesty and trust, support, independence, accountability, non-threatening behavior, fairness, communication, meaning you're open, and shared responsibility. So there are things underneath here, and I won't go through each and every one of them, but we have to actually look at a situation. And I know you were young. I was young when it all started. And usually when you're young, you tend to be insecure. And you just want to have love. And you're looking for love in the wrong places. And unfortunately, that person that's the abuser is preying on someone like us who's weak. And then also looking at the family structure. Like I had a broken home. I wasn't pretty much in my home with my mother and my father. And I was growing up with my grandmother. My grandmother, she did the best she could, and I love her for everything she's done. And she was sort of, I won't say disabled, but she wasn't able to get around totally like that. You know what I mean? So I was pretty much, open target, basically,
I was in a broken home
right.
as well.
And so I think they target people like that. And it's like, okay, well, they don't really have that strong family structure, so they can pretty much go out. They know. They prey on, they look at the situation, and they know how far they can go and how much they can get away with. And so, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Can I ask both of you all this question? Because I know it just doesn't happen in broken homes, but I know that that's one of those weak spots because it's just the trick of the enemy. It's a way to get in because you prey on people's vulnerabilities. But can I just ask you this? As a parent, what could we do? Like I know that when I was in love and I wanted to marry my husband and my mother said, this is not the one for you, I totally ignored her. I was just like, you know what, this is the one for me. It doesn't matter what she said. As a parent, what can you do even when you see the signs and you say, this is not the person, I could see this, as a parent, what can you do? Is there anything really that a parent can do? I know we can know the signs, and Shawn sort of read some of the signs to kind of look for, but as a parent, really, what can you do you know what I mean, could have said something to you, could your mother or grandmother have said something to you, and you said it earlier, they told me this, but I still didn't listen. I remember my mother telling me not to marry this man. I still didn't listen. But I mean, when you're in this position, what do you do?
Okay. If you have done all that you can do, then it's nothing that you can do. You just have to pray and just give it to God. But, you know, just know what your team is, teen domestic violence, so we're going to talk about teens right now. Just know what your teens are doing.
Absolutely.
You know, teens, don't get mad at your parents if they in your business, especially if they know that you are dealing with the unhealthy relationship.
Absolutely.
It's because they care, they want the best for you, and they don't want any negative things that happen to you. So, you know, just not watch their every move, give them some space, but just know what's going on. Like, I look up to Queen Lovee, and she's always talking about what are the conversations at the dinner table. You know, just always trying to just have those conversations, like, how was your day? How was you feeling? You know, what's going on? Let your teens trust you. Don't judge them. You know, I had a lot of judgmental people in my life dealing with my situation, and that's what drew me closer to my abuser. So, you know, just be honest, open, and just have a mindset where, you know, this is my child, this is my niece, whoever it is, and just listen to them, let them confide in you, and then when they're done talking, give them some good, loving advice.
Absolutely.
You know, that's all you can do. You can't just pull them by the shirt and like, you know, keep them locked up in the house.
Absolutely.
So when you've done all that you can do, and they still want to be with that person, you know, all you can do is just pray and just hope the best.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you
Yes,
so
I was just thinking the same thing, and that was actually some of the things I was going to cover as well, in terms of if you're not being abused, but you know someone that's being abused, be it your child, your grandchild, your niece and nephew, whoever it may be, a friend, co-worker, just please do not judge. Please do not beat them up. And sometimes we have people victim blaming. It is never the victim's fault. So please just approach the situation with love, with understanding. And this is why we're having this show now. This is why they have so many events and conferences and everything about domestic violence, teen dating violence, because we're here to educate. We want to empower our girls and boys, our men and women about this tragedy. And so and we also not only educate and empower them, but we also want to expose the enemy. Like, you don't win. So we want to expose those things that are unhealthy, that are toxic. So now we can do something about it. So thank you so much for
Thank you.
sharing.
Thank you. Thank you for all that's commented on Facebook. Thank you for all that's commented on Chattitudes. We hear you. People are saying don't judge your children, just be open, and we got to know that as parents, because we turn them away and then we make them go towards that person, like Timira said, some of those things, and Adina said we must stop ignoring warning signs, educate our young people, and understand what we are worth. That is so true. Charlene says there's nothing we can do as parents. We just got to pray. As bad as it hurts, we just got to pray. Dr. O says, Timira, I applaud you bravely for sharing your story and advice. Amazing story. And we're just so blessed to actually have you here. And we're going to continue to just bring awareness on this platform to just about every topic. And we put the domestic violence hotline up earlier. If you missed it, please visit our webpage and we'll get you in contact with someone, chattitudes.org. We'll make sure that you know some of the numbers to call. If you missed the hotline numbers earlier, we do know that at Community of Hope Church, I know that they have a domestic violence support groups. There's so many support groups that will keep you confidential and all of those things. There's so many places to turn to. But we're gonna take a break here, and we're gonna come back in just 2 minutes because we're gonna have to wrap it up. It just seemed like the hour went so fast. I don't even know where the hour went to. It was just so
Can I
fast.
say something right
Yes, please say something.
Okay.
Please say something.
Yes, and also, if you know somebody that's being abusive, your son, your daughter, get them some help. You know, try to find out what's really going on in their mental space and get them some help as well. And for the victims being abused too. Because we don't want to forget about the abusers. We definitely want to get them some help as well. So I just wanted to say
Thank
that.
you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Timira.
We love you.
Yes.
We love you.
And we just, real quick, I do have the National Domestic Violence Hotline. It's 1-800-799-SAFE. 1-800-799-SAFE. And for the teen dating violence helpline, it's 1-866-331-9474. Again, 1-866-331-9474 for the teen dating violence helpline.
All right.
So
Give
we're
us
gonna-
1 minute. Yeah. We're coming back in 1 minute just to wrap up and give our final victory viewpoints.
Yes.
And we're so glad you're here today. But don't go anywhere. Stay right here for the next minute. And we'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you, Timira.
Thank you.
Hey, Chuck! Talk to me, Pastor Mitchell. I don't know about you, but I've had all kinds of friends in my life. I think I've been right down that road with you. Yeah, I had some so-called friends. Yes. When trouble came, they went the other way. Tell me about it. But one thing I'm glad about, that ain't a friend like the lonely Jesus. No. Well, can't nobody come on do me like Jesus. Can't nobody do me like the Lord. Can't nobody do me like Jesus. 'Cause he's my friend. Can't nobody do me like Jesus. Ain't nobody do me like my Lord. Nobody do me like Jesus. He's my friend. Heal my body. Told me to run on. Well, he healed my body. He told me to run on. Well, Jesus healed my body. Well, he told me to run on. Jesus is my friend. Well, you know he picked me up and he turned me around. Jesus picked me up, Lord, he turned me around. I said, Jesus picked me up and he turned me around. Jesus is my friend. Can't nobody do me like Jesus. 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 Nobody, nobody. Nobody, no, nobody. I said nobody, no, nobody. Nobody, no, nobody. Can't nobody do me like Jesus. Can't nobody do me like Jesus. Hey! Can't nobody do me like Jesus.
Welcome back to Chattitudes. Now we'll have our victory viewpoints. I just wanted to share with everybody, love does not hurt. If anyone is inflicting any type of harm on you, physically, emotionally, sexually, they do not love you, nor do they have your best interests at heart. Whether you're male or female, please know your worth. Know what God says about you. Know that you deserve to be treated with dignity, respect, and love. And love is found, the definition of love is found in 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7.
We are more than conquerors through him who loved us. If God is for us, who can be against us? remember to just love yourself. Remember that God loves you, and so do we.
Yes.
We'll see you next week when we talk about heart health. Very important subject next week. We're going to talk about the heart and how it affects our community. This is very, very powerful. We have a heart nurse coming as well as a heart survivor.
Yes.
So we see you next week
All
on
right.
Chattitudes. And have a
Yes.
good night.
Take care.
Come on and join us. We're gonna have a good time. Listen up, check us out. Use the hotline number to chime. Come on and join us. There's lots of surprise for you. Fun and family with great fellowship too.
Crystal and Shawn have exciting words. I'm sure there's something that you've never heard. Sunday at 6, it's an excellent mix. We got spiritual flair, special guests will be there.
Come on and join us. We're here and waiting for you. Connect with us at 6 o'clock. We wanna share in all you do. Come on and join us. Come right here and find. Connect with us and share your thoughts. We wanna explore your mind.
Chattitudes, Chattitudes,
What's your attitude?
Chattitudes, Chattitudes,
What's your attitude?
Chattitudes, Chattitudes,
What's your attitude?
Chattitudes, Chattitudes.
What's your attitude?